Yeah, I don't know how much basketball you watch, but JJ Redick not too long ago talked about all the pressures athletes face on social media today and how they, read every comment that's written about them, or like you mentioned, anything that's news ends up in the news, within a few hours. And so, first, what we try to do is just eliminate the noise, really. If you can get off social media altogether and not be involved as an athlete, that can be a pretty good way to inoculate yourself from whatever's going on in the world around you and what people are saying about you, which I think is the most harmful thing. But the second thing we do, if you're not willing to get off social media, is really curate your content so that the content that you consume lifts you up, and you're also muting or ignoring the people who drag you down, right? But it's very hard, and so a lot of it is really about helping them manage the input so that there's less to deal with, because otherwise, it's quite hard to consistently cope with people saying bad things about you, let's say. And so it's much more effective to just reduce your exposure to those comments than it is to try to fix how you feel each time a comment's made. It's often hard for athletes to think about life after sports when they're still playing. And so but there usually in any organization, there's a dedicated group of staff people who are helping them think about what's next for them, whether that's, investing or building their own personal brand or starting their own company or retiring. There's lots of options for these athletes. And so, my job is really in that puzzle to, as they get closer to retirement, as they're ready to walk away from sport, to get them to think about, what they want their legacy to be, or to get them to think about what they want their life to be about in the next phase of their career. But it's a tricky balance to walk because you don't want, most athletes don't want to think about retirement until it's time to think about it. And so you've got to find creative ways to, get them to explore what's possible for them um, outside of what they're doing right now without it being so focused on retirement. And so again, you look for things like investments or ongoing education, or, even things that their peers are doing to help get them kind of bought into the idea that there is going to be a life after sport and that they want to try to maximize that too. If you can tap into their competitive nature and some of the other things they care about, you can really make good progress with them that way.